Hey, there is no theme today, so the movies I'm talking about are American Animals, Sirens, and I Love You, I Don't. First up is American Animals. This is a 2018 American/British movie based on a true story / is a true story. The basic premise is it's about these college guys who decide to do a heist. And what I really loved about this movie was the fact that they had the actual people who the story is about in the movie as talking heads, and it really added to kind of everything because you could just you could feel the weight in their voice about their actions they did like 10 plus years ago, and it just gives it this extra layer of heartbreak. And then on top of that, the part that I crazy loved was that they had unreliable narrators. Like they'd have two guys telling different stories about something that happened, and then they would show it. Like there was a scene where like this important meeting scene happened, but the two guys remember it differently, so they showed both the scenes the different ways that they remembered it, and that was so neat. It reminded me a lot of I, Tonya. They had a scene similar to that, but what frustrated me with that movie is that they didn't do it enough. They only really did it the one time, and it was great use, but they should have done it more because I'm sure there's more times where people have told different stories. But they did do it multiple times here, and it was great. It really helped at the end. I was there like talking about some inconsistencies between everyone's stories. It made the movie feel more real because it was real people telling their real story and it clashing, and it just, that was so good. But yeah, I definitely recommend this movie. I enjoyed it a lot. It's not like a fun heist movie though. It's definitely a drama, but it's more of a light drama. There are, light moments, and it doesn't get super heavy till the end. But even still, I think it's definitely a movie worth checking out. It's a good story told well. Next up is Sirens. This is a 1994 Australian movie featuring both Hugh Grant and Sam Neill. It also has Portia de Rossi, the youngest I've ever seen her, and she is very adorable here. I was mad crushing on her for most of the movie. And the basic premise is, in the 1920s, a minister and his wife travel to this famous painter to convince him to not showcase his sacrilegious painting. But while there, the minister's wife has basically a sexual awakening. It was an interesting movie. It definitely felt like it was just some dude's fantasy. That being said, I still enjoyed aspects of this movie. I like the journey that the wife took in her exploration of sexuality, because it seemed like for most of the movies she was discovering that she's either bi or gay, like she's into women. And I really thought that was gonna lead to like a gay sex scene, but instead it led to her just cheating on her husband with a more attractive man, which is weird to say because this is like prime pickings Hugh Grant, and he is very attractive in this movie. But somehow there's a more attractive man. And I don't get why she cheated on her husband, because like her husband does like her a lot and wants to, have sex and stuff. But I think part of it is that she just isn't vocal about her wants and needs, so Hugh Grant doesn't deliver on them because she's not saying them. Her cheating with a man doesn't make any sense to me. Had she cheated with a woman, that would have made a lot more sense. And then the other aspect of this movie was basically just like arguments on sexuality in general, / should we even talk about sex and all that other stuff. Every time that happened, it was just dumb. The movie could have gone in a lot of different ways, and I don't think the way that it went was the right choice. Yeah, it was an interesting movie. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not bad, it's just not really good. It's just okay. It's right in the meh category, so yeah. And lastly is I Love You, I Don't. This is a 1974 French movie, and the basic premise is there are these two gay guys who travel around in a dump truck, and they stumble across this lonely cafe worker who looks a lot like a boy, and everyone refers to her as a boy, but she is a woman and lovely. And the less flamboyant gay man decides to flirt with her a bit, and then they kind of have a thing for the rest of the movie, and the movie's about their relationship, essentially. The big thing I hate hated about this movie was the music. The music was just atrocious. It did not fit at all. It was just pure trash. And it really sucked too because like there were lots of really good scenes that were without music, and then they would punctuate the scene with the really trashy music. You're ruining everything. That just completely killed the vibe of what was happening. And then I also really didn't like the sex scenes because they were kind of rapey, and I really don't get what they were going for with them. The sex was consensual. It was just pleasant for no one involved, and that was very difficult to bear witness to. And then I also really didn't like the end. I really don't know what they were going for there. Because like, I'll just spoil it, the more flamboyant gay man was jealous of the other two's relationship, so he decides to attempt to kill the woman, but thankfully the other gay man shows up and stops him, but like instead of like beating him up or anything, or you know, calling him out for almost killing someone, he decides to ride off into the sunset with him. And it's like, no, who would want to ride off into the sunset with someone who just tried to murder someone? I did enjoy a decent chunk of this movie. It's just those big problem areas that like really brought the movie down. So yeah, I don't recommend it. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got American Animal sitting at number 6 in the really like category. And then after that is Sirens sitting at number 21 in the meh category. And then literally right behind that is I Love You, I Don't sitting at number 22, also in the meh category. And this is out of a total of 27 old movies so far this year.